Hi, I'm Dan and welcome to this week's Elements Developer Diary. Now this week we're going to look at scroll animations, and this is a hotly requested feature. It's come up time and time again on the forum and we finally got around to adding it. It's something we wanted to add from the beginning, but we just had a lot of other things to work on, so we're finally getting around to adding some of these nicer touches. In previous week's video, you remember we added hover effects, but this one is all focused on scroll effects, and that means when as you scroll the page or load the page, things can fade in, scale in, blur, rotate, things like that. It's really powerful what we've done here, and it's really fun to play around with, and I'm going to show you how that works. And I just want to take a moment to say I think it's important to remember that Elements has all of this built in. We're building it up to be a complete web design package, so you don't need to buy tons of add-ons to get a basic website going with all these nice animations, something that looks modern and all in one package. So let me show you how these scroll effects work, and these will be built into Elements, so you just buy an Elements license and away you go. So let's have a look at this project. I've got a few projects here as well that we can go through, and I can show you various things, but it's a lot of fun to play with. So this is my example page, and I've got a grid here with a couple of grid items. Now the scroll effects are only added to the container and the grid in the current beta, or the beta that we're going to ship this week, but I have a build where we've added it to flex and the entire grid and things like that. So the beta you'll get, things will be slightly limited, but the following beta next week will have more effects enabled and you can add them in other places. So that's why I have this site set up the way I have it, with these grids here. So if I go to a grid item, we now have this new option here called scroll effects. And if I turn that down, we can enable it. And if I go and preview that, by default, we've got nothing happening yet. So we need to adjust the value. Now, this is really, really powerful, this stuff. We've exposed a lot of options here, and you can have a lot of fun with this. It is quite complex once you start digging into it, but that just means you can do a hell of a lot with it. You don't need to rely on other animation packages out there. You can probably do a lot of what you want with the built-in stuff here. So to start, we'll leave all these default settings, and just down here we've got the transforms, which is basically our start and end keyframes. So at the start, let's just set the opacity to 0. So when the page loads, my object, anything in that grid item, will be transparent because the opacity is 0. Now you can't view these currently in the editor like you can with the hover effects. Basically, because this is using a JavaScript library, we don't load this into the editor yet because it could mess things up. We're being a little bit precious about the editor and not trying to load too many extraneous libraries in there, especially when we open it up to third-party developers, because we don't want this to break. So at the moment, to preview the effects, you just hit these browser button and it loads up here. Now I'll just refresh that because it happened very quick, but if you watch the explore, you'll see it just fades in as the page loads, which is great. But let's go a little bit further. I'm going to set the timing here. Let's set it to 2000 so it gives us a chance to see it. And I'm going to set the delay to 1000. So that gives us a second for the page to load, and then it's going to fade in. So if I view this now, we wait, and there, it fades in nice. What we can also do, I mean, we can change these other things here like rotate, scale, blur, but we can also move it. So let's actually go, I'm going to move it on the horizontal plane, 300. Let me just check this. So I actually want it coming in this way. So let's do minus 300 and let's preview that. Nice. So now it slides in. I think we want that a little bit faster. So let's say 1000. And then let's do the same here on this one. Let's go 1000 and the delay 1000 because we want it to happen at the same time. We want the opacity set to 0 and 300. So now let's view this. And now when the page loads, they scroll in, which is looking pretty good. I think we could probably make the distance less to make this a little bit more classy. minus 100. Very nice. So that's looking pretty good. So you see how easy that was to set up these animations. And that's obviously when the object is in the viewport, it's just going to play that animation. And because it's at the top of our page, it's going to play it instantly. And that's very nice for when your page loads for visitors, just to do some subtle animations. We've also got different types of easing. So let's choose back out. Let's have a preview of that one. Yeah, so the let's try a bounce. Yeah, so you'll notice on that one, it has a bit of a bit of elasticity. Let's do this one. You watch on this side, boing. So that's a little bit more ferocious. This side, it really throws itself in there and wobbles. Whereas the other side is our standard ease in, ease out. But if we select both of these, then we can change the values on both of them. So let's change that to 2000. We'll lower our delay, and that's doing it for both of these. So it's a nice way to change the animation on both of them. And look at that, that's pretty sweet. So now they're coming in and they're kind of bumping together. And, you know, you saw how easy this is to change and how professional this looks, that you can just have these effects. It's really super. Let's put in a background on here because that would be quite nice. There we go. So already with these small effects, we're building quite a professional site here that is hard to build by hand and hard to build in other software, as you know, especially if you want this kind of customization here. Yeah, pretty powerful stuff. We can add animations to this background container as well. So we could, at the start, we could scale this and have it, let's do 3000 there. Let's have a look at that. Yeah, so now that's kind of scaling in. So we've got multiple elements being animated here, and this is looking really professional and would be hard to do in other software. And you've seen how easy it is for me to set this up. It's yeah, it's pretty impressive, really. You can tell we're pleased. We're pleased with the way this is going. So we could make that even slower. So as I said, you can do a lot of things here, and you can play around and set up some really nice effects. Now, if I scroll down on this page, I'd already set up some animations. So if I scroll down, you'll notice here, these are out of line because they're moving, and this is blurred. And as I scroll down, this comes into focus, and this is also moving up at a different rate. And there, and now that's gives me a nice heading at the top of the page. And as I scroll back down, you can see these animations are all happening. They're being reversed, and that comes back in. I mean, how cool is that? That is just, it's so easy to do and so much fun to play around with. So I think with element sites, we're going to see, when you guys start building them, I think we're going to see a lot of animations and a lot of nice hover effects, because you can also, we can also combine these effects as well. So if you want to, let me just close that. If I come down here, although this grid item has got some scroll effects on it, we can also put some normal effects on it as well. So if I wanted to, if we wanted to scale this as I, let's go hover, as I hover, the active state, we could scale it. So this is completely separate. This is the hover effects. So what happens now, as I scroll down, this is all looking good. And if I hover inside of that, it animates. So we've got two types of effects going on there. And this is, you can build some really nice interactive pages with this stuff. It's just pretty incredible. All right, here's another site that I set up previously. And it's pretty cool. again, it has the fade in effect at the top. This is to kind of give you a more real world example. You know, you might want this for your site, just a graphic sliding in there and some text this side with a button on. Really easy to do. And as I scroll down here, you can see we've got this fun animation of the chair sliding in across the floor, which is pretty cool. So you can have you can have a lot of fun with these. We can select, let's go here, it's on the grid item, and the start. So we could rotate this so that when it comes into view, yeah, you can see that sliding there. And we've got it set to the bottom of the element. That's when it comes into view. So that's when the scroll is triggered there. So when that comes in, that's when it will start animating. But there's lots of stuff you can do. This is a lot of fun to play with. Oops. Let's see. Oh, that's the start there. Let me put that back to, oh no, let's rotate that. And then we can make the chair smaller and rotate it in. So now when I come down into the view, you can see it's scaling up and rotating. Cool stuff. All right. So I thought I would take a look at this page, and then we could just do a few animations on here just to kind of round it out and show you what you could build. Now, in my build here, I've got support for animation on the flex items. As I said before, that's not in the current beta, but it will be in next week's beta. So know that this is coming. For the time being, you can do the same thing with grid items. So yeah, you'll just have to imagine that next week you'll be able to do this on flex items. So at the moment, I don't have any animation on this, but let's animate this heading in. Let me show you how I've got my page set up. So I've got this container, and then I've got a flex box here, and I've got my flex items, which are each item here, which is setting it up like this is really nice because one, it gives me universal control over my gaps between the content. So I can just change this, boom, and you can see it evenly spaces it out. But it also allows me to select each flex item and animate them individually. So let's get started. We're going to start with this, the title here. Let's give it a 500, like half a second delay so it can get loaded. And what should we do with this? Let's go 300 and the opacity is 0. So that's going to slide in that way. Or actually, I think we'll go with lower because I think that looks a bit more classy, like we said before. Not such a massive change. And then on our divider here, we're going to pick the flex item, and we're going to do the same. That's 1000. And let's do minus 100 there. The start, let's have a look. Oh yeah, we didn't add the delay there. Let's add a 500 delay. Nice, so that's looking pretty good. So I've got them kind of coming in opposite, very nice. And again, you saw how easy that is to set up and how easy it is to, there's lots of settings here I can tweak and play with. Let's see, flex item. Let's have this one move up, I think, which we'll want to move this on the vertical. Let's set the delay a little bit longer on this one. So our title comes in to begin with. We'll see how this looks. And then 100, we want it to move up. So that's on the vertical plane. Let's just see what that looks like. Yeah, that's very nice. So we've got these two sliding in. Wait a second and then slide this one up. That's very cool. And now let's do this button. Scroll effects, we'll enable that. And we'll do this at 2000. So this is going to come in last. And no movement, but it's invisible. Let's try this. So that slides in, then the button appears. Let's do that one as well, I think. And maybe a bit of a longer delay because it came in a bit quick. Let's check. Nice. That would certainly be, I could twiddle these settings all day. That would certainly be more eye-catching when you first log on to this website or when you first load it up. That would be pretty professional, I think. And that looks very classy. Yeah, nice. Okay. All right. And then I might just, and then we could just enable a hover effect on the button to show you how you can have them independent. And of course, on a button, a hover effect, let's do hover on the active state. We're going to change it, and I might, we'll probably scale it, and maybe we'll take it down in size a little bit when the mouse hovers over it, like it's moving backwards. So we'll load our page. That slides in, that slides up. Oh yeah, and now when I hover over my button, it moves away. I mean, that is ridiculously easy to set up, and it really gives your website that extra bit of professionalism. And remember, this is all built into Elements. This comes for free in the package. You get all this WYSIWYG editor. You just drag and drop this stuff in, and all these effects, you don't need to buy tons of add-ons. It's all built in for one price. So we're really pleased with the way this is shaping up, and I hope you'll have for those of you on the beta, I hope you'll have a good dig into this and play around and see if it does what you want it to do. There's so much you can do with this, and I've really only scratched the surface of how creative you can get with this, especially with the hover effects and now the scroll effects. It's all really awesome. So have a play. Let us know what you think. Is this what you need? Does this do what you want? So feedback in the comments as usual on the forum. That would be great. We're still developing this, and we're still changing things and progressing it. So look out for more scroll effects and tweaking and features in the coming betas. All right. Thanks for watching this one, and I will see you next week. Cheers. Bye.